Welcome back. We have another episode, this time with our friend and coach, Mariska, from also CrossFit fitness, but not only CrossFit, but other things. But let me not take away your introduction part, Mariska. Tell us a little bit more. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you doing? And why are you here?
Hi, I'm Mariska. I am from Houten and I work for Unscared Fitness in Utrecht. And that's why how I know you. And I also have a passion for pre and postnatal coaching. And this is since I became a mother myself. And I noticed that, when you work out regularly, there are some changes in the body that affect your workouts. And I was curious about how it affects my body and how I could continue training in a safe way. And this is how I became a pre and postnatal coach.
So it was triggered by the fact that you got pregnant yourself?
Yes. Yeah.
That you then wanted to continue being active.
Yeah.
And then thought what should I do?
The funniest part is that I have a history in sports as an instructor. So I did gymnastics. I teach gymnastics. I worked for a global gym. I did bootcamp trainings, body pump, Pilates.
Everything.
Not everything because I suck at Zumba. So
okay.
no Zumba for me. But I strength and the conditioning part, it's what I liked. And from one of my courses, I knew a woman. She's called Josine Grafa. And actually the day I found out I was pregnant for my first kid, she texted me via Facebook Messenger like, I started a course for women who are doing CrossFit and they are pregnant and what they could adjust. And I'm like, I just recently found out I am pregnant. I'm a CrossFitter. This is such a coincidence. Okay, this is what I need also.
Yeah.
But at first I didn't thought this is what I need. I thought, fun for her. I'm pregnant. This is a coincidence. And after a few weeks, then when my body was changing, then I noticed I need this. Yeah. So it was really easy to reach out to her.
Yeah. Because I have never been pregnant. Kevin, of course, also doesn't have a chance. But I do have a few friends that are pregnant that I talked a little bit about, but also did my own research to prepare for this episode to look into what activity, exercising can you do, what is advisable when you are pregnant or freshly pregnant. And I found it very difficult to find researches online. And so I thought after a while, let's go to the IIVM, which is the Dutch official government site. And there was an entire leaflet booklet about pregnancy. However, the section about exercising, moving and pregnancy was 4 lines long, saying drink enough, try to have not a high heart rate, do what feels good, don't do any contact sports. So they specifically were saying no hockey, which is I think also funny in the Netherlands. It's a big sport here. Yep. No volleyball and no football. Swimming and cycling and walking is advisable, they said. But since this was only 4 lines, I went a little bit deeper in the internet. Still, it was very scarce finding researches, which we discussed in our pre-talk to this podcast, that of course it's scarce, the resources, since you are pregnant and any pregnant woman, the first thought is what is the best thing I can do for my child? So doing a research where half of the group exercises, half of the group doesn't exercise, and then possibly harm you, you don't want to be that mother of possibly harming you. So it's understandable.
Yeah. It is. It's you find a lot of controversial things, and the first thought we had about being pregnant is, and maybe if you're pregnant now, your mother or your mother-in-law says to you, "Oh, sit on the couch, don't be so busy, and don't do any sports." We did find out that the activity advice that is advice for everybody, pregnant or not pregnant, women, men, old, young, doesn't matter, is 150 minutes a week.
Okay.
Yeah, to moderate activity.
Okay.
Which also is an advice for you if you are pregnant. And what kind of activity you do as a moderate activity, that's something we can discuss. And what kind of activity might harm you and might harm your baby. Well, that's really hard to investigate a little bit more, because I don't think any women would volunteer in any onderzoek.
Yeah, any study to find out if it possibly harms your kid or not. Nobody wants to do that. But even if nobody wants to participate, so it's like then also understandable that the advice is so different, because I did find in some studies that say like, if you are not exercising, you are anyway gaining weight because of pregnancy more quickly than you do if you would not be pregnant. So that the weight that is on your joints, like the tension on your joints is way higher, and that with more weight gain, like there is a chance that your kids can get diabetes. Like, there were really scary stories where I found. But on the other side, I also was reading that exercise or like moving also promotes a better oxygen transportation for your body. So also to your feeders. But then on the other side, people were saying like, yeah, but if you go too hard, you take the oxygen away from your feeders. So like you can, and yeah, I found
there are a lot of controversial,
very controversial. So
things.
then, especially being in this situation where you just want to do the right thing. Yeah. Well, it's hard to find the right thing.
But is there a right thing?
Is there right? It depends. It's quite easy to do the right thing, actually, because I hear you talking about weight gain. It's not healthy to gain too much weight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you have a normal BMI, let's talk about it. So, of course, when you keep moving during your pregnancy, the amount of weight you gain might be, and now I have to be very careful for what I say, because you need to gain weight during your pregnancy because your baby's growing there, your placenta, you have more blood in your body. And
you need more energy.
You need the weight gain. And for some women, it can be between 3 or 25 kilograms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But if you gain weight, but also gain fat, let's say it like this, that's not so healthy for you. Yeah. So then, and exercising might help you to gain a healthy amount of weight when you're pregnant.
Yeah. Because
also studies did show that women who do regularly activity, like the 150 minutes they advise, or a little more a week, and they keep this about we have this rate of preserved exertion. It's actually a scale from 1 to 10, where you put 1 when you're just laying on the couch eating this bar of Tony Chocolonely, watching Netflix, and a 10 is going all out, and it's really an all out sprint. You can maybe hold this pace for like 30 seconds. The maximum you should go on this scale is about 7 or 8 in your interval trainings. And then
if you're pregnant,
just so easy saying, you should still be able to talk when you work out in sentences.
Yeah.
Not, yes, no. Yeah. You should be able. Yeah, I'm fine. Okay, what are you going to do? You could answer that. If you hit these targets, like the 150 minutes moderate activity, you sometimes you do some high intensity interval training, you do some strength training. These women actually have healthier babies after giving birth. Okay. The babies have less body fat.
Yeah.
They are healthier. And also these women, they have I wouldn't say easier, but their birth has
on average.
On average, they have better birth experiences, less birth traumas, for example. So, it's the same as you train for a marathon.
Yeah.
If you train for a marathon and you do it wisely, then you probably have a really nice output, and your recovery takes less time than when you start doing your marathon without any training,
any preparations.
So yes,
it's a good comparison of a marathon and a pregnancy, because it is like
it is a marathon.
It is.
And it's not only the 9 months that you think, but it's like all these months after also that. But let's not go too much into that, because maybe first start with, what is it actually? What happens when you're pregnant in a female body?
It's a good start. Let's do it chronologically. What happens in your body? Well, of course, the baby is growing in your body, and we know a woman is around 40 weeks pregnant, 9 months. And in those weeks, we talk about trimesters. So the first 12 weeks is a trimester. The baby is really going from this small cell, and then it's we call it a fetus, and it's growing a little bit more. And after 12 weeks, and in those first 12 weeks, a lot is happening in the female body due to the growing baby. So she starts experience maybe growing, her breasts are feeling more tense, and they are growing a little bit more. you don't see it from the outside. Sometimes on the belly yet in those first 12 weeks, you can be really flat because the uterus is hidden behind the pubic bone. For some women not, but on average. And but the things women notice themselves is that, for example, they have less oxygen. The breathing is getting harder. So when they walk up the stairs, like really out of breath.
Which can be quite frustrating if you don't really see yet that that there is any belly.
And you could be scared about it too, because I work a lot with mothers who already work out. And they they're used to running up the stairs, and then they just walk up the stairs and they feel exhausted. And like, what is happening to my body? Am I harming my baby? No, it's quite normal. It might get better in the second trimester, and it will get worse, but probably in the third trimester. Your blood flow is different. You get 1.5 liter of extra blood, something you don't see from the outside, but it affects your heart rate, for example, and the blood pressure.
So you have a higher heart rate because there's more blood to pump?
Yeah, there's more blood to pump. Yeah. So it's you get this higher heart rate quicker when you do.
Yeah, because
when you move.
Anyway, then your baseline is already higher if you have to pump more blood, and then if you like exercise, then you're okay.
This is why your midwife checks your blood pressure, for example. And so your lung capacity changes already in the beginning. Your blood flow changes, your heart rate, but also your body temperature. It's because of this. Your baby is in your body. When you work out, for example, at first the oxygen in your blood goes to your brain, and then to your muscles, and then to your skin, actually. And this is why you start to sweat, for example, when you get too hot. Now the baby's in between that. So it goes to your brain, it goes to your baby via the placenta, and then your muscles are there to get the oxygen from your blood, and then it comes through your skin. So at first it's harder to keep your body on a temperature. Maybe you're getting cold faster, or you're getting warm. You have these sweaty moments maybe. And when you work out, because you might feel more tired, more quick than you used to. For example, if you could do 20 squats in a nice, heavy, steady pace. And now after 12, you're like, oh, my legs are blown. That's the things you can notice in the first 12 weeks. And also a lot of women experience the nausea. They're tired, for example. These are the really common things. But the things I just mentioned are the things they don't talk about that often. They're here. Talk about with your midwife. Don't be afraid of it.
I guess it could be quite a surprise if you have no idea that this is a normal thing that it's happening, and then you get scared, like you mentioned.
It's not only the puking. There's so much more going on in your body.
Exactly. Like, it's not what you say, not only the puking, like that's something like it's a little bit known that you like can feel nauseous. Like, it's known that, of course, logically your physician, like your body is changing, like that your tummy is growing. But I just, before this podcast, was reading a little bit up on my old notes and was then seeing that the diagram, like that your diaphragm is growing, and then that your lungs are also after a while pushed up. These are all things that you don't think about. But like when I read it, and then also the explanation, because logically your kid is pushing it up, I was like, oh, true.
Yeah, let's talk about this, because we have the second and the third trimester left. It was only the first trimester. Well, in the second trimester, regularly women feel better. The nausea goes away, and then your belly starts showing, and you have more confidence, because, well, after 12 weeks, the risk of having a miscarriage is really decreasing. So, and also in these 12 to 28 weeks of pregnancy, women feel most of the time fit, because the belly is not that big. They can show their pregnancy, they're happy. And it's not for every woman. I talk it about regularly. And this is the moment when you do exercise, it's time to blow. Or no, not to blow, but to grow and to just enjoy. It's not a time to set PRs. What I will talk about is later. And then you have the third trimester, which is after 28 weeks until you give birth, which your belly is really growing, your baby is going bigger. And then you have this diaphragm muscle, which is it attaches underneath the ribs, and it helps you breathing. And this muscle is being stretched and pushed up a little bit. Your lung capacity is decreasing because there's a little bit less space to move around. And then you can experience a shortness of breath again, which you had in the beginning of your work pregnancy. And also you gained a lot of weight. You have this belly in front of your spot, in front of you. So your point of gravity is changed. And people are asking you every day, when does the baby come? Which is also no. But this is about third trimester, and it's time for your furlough and something. And actually, we have a fourth trimester too, which is after you give birth, the first 8 weeks, because it's not that you gave birth to your baby and then your body bounces back to what happens. Actually, you have a period left afterwards to recover. And take rest and to get used to your new life as a newborn mom.
Yeah, because the fourth trimester I never heard before, but yes, it's again logical. Yeah, because there are just certain changes that have to then go back and that your body has to go through. And I think you talked already about many aspects that are just not known if you never had a kid, or if you may be pregnant the first time, like changes that all very reasonable, all very logical, but you don't take into consideration. And maybe you might get frustrated if you don't know about that. This is completely normal and logical that it happens.
And I think in we are very, I could say, easy on pregnancy and postpartum recovery, because you're just pregnant, and everything is a part of being pregnant. Every pain you have, any sneeze while you're peeing your pants and stuff. And in Holland, there's still this way of, if you need to give birth, you just do it the natural way. Any, epidurals, for example, are, you just have to do it. You're a strong woman. You're capable of birthing a baby. And after 6 weeks, you should jump on your bike and bring your kid to daycare and get back to work. Or just jump in your old sports. And there are especially Scandinavian countries who have a different thought of it. I think we are shifting. Our view on this whole pregnancy and postpartum thing is changing during the time, luckily, because there's more to this. And for example, if you have a really big knee injury, if you kruisbanden.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know what this is in English, but I would have to look it up on my phone, but it's like this cross muscle, right?
Yeah,
no?
Ligament?
Muscle.
Ligament?
No, it's
I think it's
a knee.
If you have a really big, for example, football players got it often, and runners maybe too. But if you tear those knee ligaments, you have these. Sometimes you get you have an operation and you've got a really long physio path for your recovery. Yeah. Giving birth is also a big injury. C-section or vaginal delivery, it's really big trauma on the body. And of course it heals itself and it's really capable of healing itself. But we need some extra care and attention and love as newborn mothers. Yeah, it takes time. And what you were talking about, how long the government or the society around you gives you, it's very interesting. In Germany, for example, they give you a year for women, or you can even up to do it for 2 years, stay at home with your kid, which is so different to in the Netherlands. What is it? You have 16 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. And that is
and you have to stop working actually 4 weeks before your due dates. And you can also start 6 weeks. And if you have any issues or
of course
you can stop working earlier before your due dates. And then, depending on the 4 or 5 or 6 weeks before you give birth, you have another 12 or 10 weeks after you give birth. So usually women start working 10 to 12 weeks after birth. Yeah.
And so then your kid is also 10 to 12 weeks old.
Yeah, at 3 months old. Then it might go if you choose to do it. Also women choose to do vakantiedagen.
Vacations or stay at home for longer.
Or unpaid leave.
Exactly.
Yeah. But recently we've got it's
a big
June
change.
2020 or July 2020 is when the men also got a longer furlough, which is really good. So they went to 2 days or then to 5 days. And now they have 5 days and also an option for 5 weeks on the 70% pay rule.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say, that we can see there already a shift, because especially with the men, because men are also playing a big part. Like it's a team effort to raise the child, and I think every mother I'm talking about.
You also want to be there as a father when your kid is born. You want to not go back to work after 4 days. It's nothing.
Well, in the beginning it was 2 days.
Yes, it's even worse. So it's, I think it's very great. Yeah.
So we're taking steps here in the Netherlands. Progress. Yeah.
But going back to, so we now talked a little bit about all the changes that are happening in your body. Our podcast is, of course, mainly listened by active people, active women, and part of them having already kids or maybe plan to have them in the future. So what effects do these changes and have then on training, or maybe even specifically on running?
Yeah,
but training in general.
Training in general or running. Let's just call it training.
Yeah.
And consider training also as running. So I told you about lung capacity. So you feel out of breath sooner than you were used to. Also your body temperature, as what I mentioned also again. So you might feel warmer quicker than you were used to. Due to hormones and especially relaxin, you have weaker joints. Relaxing is relaxing your connective tissue.
Yeah.
So and that's really nice, because you have to give birth and your baby leaves your body through your pelvic floor.
Yeah.
So it's really nice that those pelvic area is a little bit more stretched and relaxed. But it's not only on that place that we have these hormones. It's also in your ankles, in your knees, in your wrists.
Oh, that's something also I didn't know.
It's just going through the whole body.
Which then refers to, like in the very beginning, I said, like you're gaining weight relatively quickly. So where the stress on your joints is already higher. And then on top of it.
Yeah.
So like one has to be a little bit more careful, actually.
You have to be a little bit more careful. So this is why I advise people when they are pregnant, or actually women when they're pregnant, to avoid these really high impact movements because of the weaker joints.
Yeah. High impact movements you refer to as
running. I'm sorry. Jumping. Yeah. And also if you are a CrossFitter or a weightlifter, the Olympic movements. So when you do a snatch, for example, where you bring a barbell with heavy weights from the ground to overhead in a really fast and explosive movement, where you need to have a lot of tension on the muscles to guide the bar in a nice vertical bar pad. It's easier to do this. Clean and jerk, same. Especially when you bring the bar overhead at running. Well, it makes sense. Box jumps, for example.
Yeah, that was my first thought.
Yeah,
box jump over.
Yeah, box jumps. If you because of the high impact on the joints, but also you're getting a little bit more clumsy when you're pregnant, because you're not really losing your strength, but the time your muscles fire. It's slowing down.
All right.
So it's harder to take the weights off the floor for you. It's not, and that's not because you're losing your strength, because it's just that the muscles are actually slower. Let's say it like this. So you get a little bit more clumsy. So for example, if you do a box jump, you have a box and you jump from the floor with 2 feet on the box. You want to jump, but you might be slower. You might you have a higher risk of tripping over the box. And that's the risk of falling. And then there's a risk of having a trauma on the baby. And this is why the RIVM says do no contact sports. So and then in football or boxing, for example,
there's a high risk.
And this risk is actually there when I told you at the first 12 weeks, when the baby is in the uterus behind the pubic bone. These high risk sports, contact sports, are not that big of a risk because the baby is safe and protected. But once you start really showing, or your midwife feels their uterus is above this pubic bone, these sports are, I'm sorry, I should avoid them. I should advise you to avoid them. It's your choice. And same is for horse riding. Because you told me about this.
We talked about this just before the podcast. I have a guilty pleasure of watching and listening to the audiobooks of Bridgerton. And in one of the episodes, the girl is pregnant and she is horse riding. And in that, it's of course like a 19th century series, like playing in the 19th century. And there the man or the male character was saying like, how can she go horse riding if she is pregnant? And I was laughing a little bit about it, like, he, that's what they thought. But actually, I don't know. So horse riding, is it advisable or not?
I would not say it's advisable because
there's a risk
of falling. You're working with an animal, and in my opinion, animals are always unpredictable. But I am not a horse riding fan. And horse riding is really taxing on your pelvic floor muscles.
Okay.
Same
as for running.
Same as for running. And well, it's good to have a strong pelvic floor, but if you're going to the end of your pregnancy, it's really important to not only contract your pelvic floor muscle, but to relax them too, because your baby needs to enter the body through this muscle actually. True, because the pelvic floor muscle has 3 openings in the female body, which is your vagina in the middle. In the front is your urine, and in the back it's your anus. So and for men it's only 2 spots because they don't have a vagina. But this muscle needs to, if it's really healthy, the muscle can contract and relax both. And it knows how to lengthen and it knows how to contract. And if you are horse riding, it's most of the time it's really strong, so it can contract very easily. But the relaxation is a harder part. And
but how would you practice relaxing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's you have a lot of different exercise for that. I would always say if you are in doubt about if you're able to contract and relax your pelvic floor muscle, you can, as a woman, you can check it yourself. If you feel comfortable, just put your finger in your vagina and try to hold up your pee, for example, or avoid doing a fart. Avoid farting, or just try to hug your fingers with your pelvic floor. And also, when you do this, you feel it contracting, and then you try to relax. And relax is just letting it go. It's not pushing downwards because it's also contracting the muscle, but then on the other way around. And if you feel insecure about this, there's a specialist who can help you. It's called a bekkenfysiotherapeut. It's a pelvic floor physiotherapist. And they have, they can see how you move. They can feel it. They have all kind of stuff to see if you are able to contract it. And it doesn't have to be inside your body. They can also put a ultrasound, for example, on your belly to see what happens in there. So don't hesitate to go there. And that's also my advice. If you're pregnant, go to a pelvic floor physiotherapist around 24 weeks, just for a checkup, and also go there 6 weeks after giving birth, just to make sure everything is okay. For example, if you buy a car, well, for me, you don't go on the road with it to first check if there's enough engine or fuel in there, if the tires are full on with air with air and stuff. Just check your body with a physiotherapist before you start to work out again. And during pregnancy, make the checkup too if you're doing the right thing.
If your body is ready for this big event of birth.
So if we talk about what effects pregnancy have on training, we have these lung capacity changes, we have the body temperature, you have the weaker joints, and the relaxing also in combination of the growing baby, there will be a significant changes in posture and alignment. So if we're talking about the pelvis, it might change, does a posterior or anterior tilt, so it moves backwards or forwards to compare for the growing baby in your belly and compensate for those muscles who are cannot do their jobs in a good way, actually.
Or in a different way they now have to, because there's this human being growing in your tummy.
Yeah, really. This growing baby changed your point of gravity also.
That's something you said in the beginning, and I was like, again, logical.
If you think about really pregnant woman, and you see them walking, you see a dog walking, leaning backwards, hands placing in the lower back to compensate, because your core muscles, they separate. It's called diastasis. It's completely normal in pregnancy. 99.9% of the women have it at 40 weeks. So don't buy any sports program who says you cannot have diastasis if you do this program. It's not true. It's stem cell. And but well, this point of gravity shifts. Your abs are less able to keep your body in the right posture. So your back muscles are compensating. Yeah. Sometimes you get really tight hip flexors. Yeah. Or you're squeezing your glutes a lot to just compensate for squeezing the butts underneath your body to get this weight up in the belly. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have these changes in your spine and you start running with this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Can you
bad posture. Yeah. Injuries.
Yeah. Bad posture. Injuries are really close by. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but now we talked about all the things that are changing in the body, like why you are getting pregnant. But still, in the very beginning, you said that still for women that are pregnant, it's advisable to move 150 minutes per week.
Yeah.
So, what do you advise them to do post?
Do what you like.
Pre-pregnancy.
Do what you like. Yeah, but within some boundaries.
Yeah. So no explosiveness, we said already.
Yeah, just avoid a really high impact training. It's no explosiveness, so no jumping. But of course, what the RIVM says, the walking, the swimming, the biking, it's fine. Yeah. With the biking, I should say, I have women who do really fast biking, like a wielrennen, for example.
Yeah. The risk of falling.
The risk of falling is higher. I should always say, okay, think about risk versus reward. What's the risk of you doing this exercise and what's the reward for you? And is it okay?
Yeah, because maybe you are like really into wheel running and you can't bring yourself to now just walk or something, then...
Yeah, if you really get stressed of not being able to do wielrennen.
Yeah, to bike.
To bike.
Yeah.
Why? Okay, then you should think, okay, what is better for me? Doing the wielrennen? Yeah. And maybe do a modification? Yeah. Or avoid the wielrennen and get really stressed and angry. Okay.
Or do a modification, because now there's also these that you can put your
those
bike.
trainers at home.
For example.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where,
it's not the same,
you
but
don't
it's as close as you can.
And you can't fall off the bike. Well, you probably can still, but chances are smaller.
You can also get hit by a bus. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. You should. Well, for example, mountain bike. When you ride, that's more of a higher risk of falling. Yeah. So yeah.
But are there, beside, no high intensity or like something that puts too much stress on your joint, are there certain, like especially since your body is changing and like what you were just explaining, the abdominal muscles stretching, and we talked already about this strengthening and relaxing of the pelvic floor, but more like body-related things that women should concentrate on. Maybe the back?
Yeah, no, actually... you mentioned pelvic floor, you mentioned back, actually core. Yeah. So a second thing, if I say you can do anything you like, but within these boundaries for safety, then we talk about intra-abdominal pressure. Here we go.
Okay, that's
IAP, intra-abdominal pressure. It's inner body. It's in your abdomen and it's pressure. So if I do an easy compare, we should go to the pop can analogy. If I have a can of Coke, for example, it's a really nice, strong structure. It's really thin material, but it's a really strong structure. But once I damage, for example, the side of the can, I can easily squeeze it, and then the Coke comes out. So if you compare this can to our body, and then you say the bottom part is your pelvic floor muscles, the top part is a diaphragm muscle, and the hole in it would be your mouth, for example, and then the sides of the can are your abs and your back. The back muscles, let's say like this. If these are all in a good position and they are strong and they work together, we have a really strong core. We cannot damage this. There's enough pressure. But now in the scan, there's a growing baby. So there's much more pressure from the inside on the outside, which is going to the outside. Yep. And all the muscles and the ligaments are a little bit less strong due to this relaxing. They're getting weaker. And there's a separation of the abs because from the inside, this baby is pressing towards the scan. Can you imagine that this scan is not strong anymore? Yeah. So there's the intra-abdominal pressure is
weakened,
it's actually not weakened, but it's really high in there. There's a lot of pressure.
It's actually the opposite.
If I start doing ab workout, for example, I'm going to do crunches. There's a lot of extra pressure in it. it's pushing toward it and it might crack open, for example. Yeah. Okay. So about intra-abdominal pressure, you don't want to have too much, let's say it, air in your belly when you train. If you have too much pressure, you can actually feel it by maybe an uncomfortable feeling around your belly button area or in your pelvic floor, because this air is pressing on it. Yeah. Some women feel the urge to pee, or they actually pee their pants because of this pressure, or they might lose how can I say it nicely?
No, they fart.
Yeah, they fart. Yeah, for example, farting. Yeah, it's also a sign of you might have it even if you're not pregnant.
No,
if you're doing a lot of core work, you might fart
no,
sometimes.
I think we all
we've all
have the feeling.
Yeah, we all have the feeling. Yeah, like you're really squeezing your pelvic. Yeah, okay. So this air is coming in and you can feel it at first, or you can see it. And when you see it, it's like you really have like we call it coning or doming, but
or like a
really a little bulge on your belly.
Yeah.
It's like you have an alien might be there. If you look it up, Google coning doming pregnancy, you can see it. You've got like a
kind of like a tip, like a roof.
Yeah, een dijk zou ik zeggen in Dutch. I don't know. Yeah, dijk is a really Dutch word.
like you have something under the skin that is doing like a cone. Yeah, it's a cone. I think it's a good,
cone. It's a cone underneath the skin.
Yeah.
So if you do exercises and this is showing up, so you feel this pressure from the inside pressing on your belly or on your pelvic floor, or you can even see it pressing, or you can see it also in your pants if you lose some. If you're peeing or something.
Then it also was too much.
It's too much, and then you can try to adjust your exercise to release the pressure. So if I open my can. The pressure comes out. So what can you do if you work out and you see this happening? Guide yourself by your breathing. Breathe out. See what happens in your belly. If you release some pressure out of there, you breathe out. Does it make any changes? Okay. Do you need to strengthen your pelvic floor area to give some pressure from the
resistance?
From the bottom. Does it make any changes? Does it feel better? Maybe you should hug your baby a little bit more with your abs, or you should make sure your spine is more neutral, so all these sides of the can are in its optimal position. If all these adjustments won't work, then this exercise is not the good exercise for you.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
And this is why pre and postnatal trainers, this is where pre and postnatal trainers can help
come
you.
in. Yeah.
This is where they come in. How can you support your can?
Yeah.
And until when? Because some women are able to do hard core exercises until they are 30 weeks pregnant. Some women need to stop at 12.
Yeah.
It depends so much.
Yeah. But I very much like your answer that it's not simply you seeing the sign and then it's like, okay, stop. But there can be adjustment made.
Yes.
And you can still continue doing whatever exercises that brought this pressure on, which I very much enjoyed this answer.
And also guess
all or nothing.
that if you were never someone that is very active, you never did a lot of sports, and suddenly you start maybe during this period, it's a very bad idea. Because your body is not used to it.
It's not a bad idea to start sports when you're pregnant.
Yeah,
because I can very much imagine this for mothers happening, because suddenly you are pregnant, you are not only physically, like later on, you are also like responsible for your child, but like at that point, you are literally physically responsible. And what we said, every woman wants the best for their child. And we kind of have this general knowledge that exercising or moving is good for you. So I could imagine that a woman is like, okay, I haven't been that healthy, but I want to have a healthy baby. So I will eat better. I will move more.
So even if you
I could imagine
didn't move at all before, you can still start during pregnancy.
Yeah, is it then harder or something?
Many questions. It's okay. If it's not, I think you asking this because if you think about this intra-abdominal pressure thing, you might think that if you are not fit, it's harder to control this intra-abdominal pressure because the can is weak.
Yeah.
Let's say it like this. And if you're really fit and you're really well trained, your can is strong. Your core is strong.
Exactly.
But that's not always true. Some people who rarely train might have a stronger core than some people who are trained very often. Because if you train very often, but you use your core in the wrong way, your core is weak.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it depends again.
It depends.
Yeah. And then you were asking, Wiebke?
Is it if you are found out you're pregnant, you're now thinking, okay, I want to do a better lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle for my child. Is it then more difficult to pick up exercising when you're just became pregnant?
What do you think? Yeah, is it if you do something you like, I think it should be easy to pick up exercising. Yeah. And if you go to the right person that can help you, then it should be good to start exercising, even when you have no exercising experience. And especially if you are a really fit person and you're really strong, for example, or you really love to run and you have a really nice time on your 10K and stuff, and then you get pregnant and you have all these things changing in your performance. It might be harder to continue training when you're pregnant than somebody who never trained before getting pregnant, wants to have a fit lifestyle when they are pregnant.
They don't have anything to compare
and
it.
They haven't anything to compare it. So I really cannot say it's this or that.
No. Clear.
It's not a black and white answer. So no.
So being a pro athlete or just someone that doesn't train at all, both have the opportunity to keep or to start training during pregnancy.
Yeah. I can only recommend train. It's not train, move.
Yeah.
If you like to work in your garden, do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to do strength training specifically.
Yeah. It's something that you said already before, like do whatever you enjoy, whatever that is.
I rather have you to do strength training, of course, because in that way you can fix and twist the right parts. But it's better to moan your lawn. Mow your lawn. Yeah. You know what I mean? Than sitting on your couch. Yeah.
Just because Mariska gave me these strength exercises, but I actually don't like them.
That's not going to work.
That's not going to
work.
work.
No, and I don't want you to be.
No.
I don't want to help you, to be honest. No. If you're coming to me and you want my help and you want to become fit during your pregnancy or you want to recover postpartum, I always ask, what do you consider as fun when you move? What do you need? What do you already have? I'm not going to tell you should buy these weights and these elastic bands and you should do these exercises. Because if I tell you that you need to do that, you're probably not going to do it. Or you will do it, but you do not enjoy it and you won't do it as often as is good for you. So I'll always try to personalize my advice.
As often as is good for you, how often is good?
Well,
it depends. And then again, we come up to
150 minutes
a week.
A week. And it also depends on where you are in your whole pregnancy, postpartum journey.
So like all these pressure happens, of course, like during the pregnancy, but post-pregnancy, there is definitely like some pressure point taken out of the equation because you delivered your child.
So the pelvic floor is really weak.
Yeah. So what do you have to do then? Rest.
If you go back to the can, there is a crack opening in the bottom of the can. Yeah, it's really. I think it's easy to look at it this way, to picture it. The first 4 days after you give birth, take rest. This pelvic floor muscle needs to heal. It's been stretched about 400 times. It's
normal size.
Yeah, and if you have during birth, there can happen a lot. For example, they can cut the muscle to make the baby come out. Sometimes they need to cut the muscle so the baby can come out if there's a risk or danger for your baby. So this muscle is damaged, and women often tear during their giving birth. So there's damage even also on the muscle, or it could be also on the skin. But the more deeper you go, the muscle tears. So that needs time to heal. Even if it has got stitches. And then also in these first days, you just gave birth to a child. You have sleep deprivation, which probably takes longer than 4 days, but it builds up. But first rest, and then you can start your postpartum recovering journey. And the first muscle you can train after giving birth is this pelvic floor muscle, in combination with the diaphragm. And then we come to breathing, and in breathing, your diaphragm muscle and your pelvic floor muscle, they work together in a natural flow. So when you inhale, without us thinking about, probably your diaphragm lowers and your pelvic floor relaxes. So it lowers too. And when you exhale, the pelvic floor muscle comes up a little bit more and the diaphragm comes up too. And this is like a cylinder in a car.
Yeah.
It's going this rhythm the whole day. This is what it should be. Again, some people say it should be. I would say there are so many types of breathing and you should know when to use which type of breathing, because in yoga you use a really deep belly breathing to relax, for example. But if you need to sprint towards your train or you are experience a lot of fear, your breathing goes really high in the body. So it's more chest breathing. So first of all, be aware of all those breathings. But after giving birth, you should try to do this diaphragmatic breathing pattern to learn to contract the pelvic floor muscles. That's the first thing you should do. And then you need to restore your core muscles. And your core are different layers of muscles. We have the deep transversus muscle, and then we have the inner and internal and external obliques, and then we have the rectus abdominis, aka the six-pack muscle. And you have this linea alba, which is this tissue that stretches so much, and the muscles also stretches. This stretching of the linea alba and becoming it really wide, and the separation isn't healing properly, then we're talking about a real diastasis as a problem. Which has some symptoms. Again, pelvic floor physiotherapist can help you diagnose this. Also, if you have some pelvic floor issues. So the first 6 weeks, it's the breathing pattern. You should work on the core. You should work on easy strength exercises with your body weight. And with easy strength exercise, you can think about glute bridges, maybe some rows, rowing, where you pull something towards your body, for example, elastic bands. And you should check those boundaries. Those boundaries I mentioned, the same as being pregnant. So no pressure or bulging feeling on the pelvic floor or on the belly.
So, but this is like all picture perfect. Like what would be good if a wife or not a wife, a mother would do, but having several friends that regularly, recently got kids. I heard like this deep sleep deprivation, that kids waking up every 3 hours, having to be fed. How realistic is it that, or like how hard, I don't know, or are there any advices? Because like if you have sleep deprivation and you are basically having only these 1.5 hour windows because of feeding patterns and stuff like this, and then like you think like, okay, I need to do the washing, but I also need to do my breathing exercises. It can be stressful, I could imagine.
Don't put too much pressure on it.
That's why it's also an 8-week period that you are saying.
This 4 trimester thing. It's the first 6 to 8 weeks after giving birth. Even if it's a vaginal delivery or a C-section, you should take rest and take time to recover and to restore. Because if you gave birth, it sounds a bit weird, but it could be very hard to find the mind-muscle connection. If I say to you, squeeze your glutes or squeeze your butt, you're probably squeezing your butt. You're going up from your chair a little bit. If I tell you this postpartum in your first week, you might think, I'm squeezing my butt, but nothing is happening. It's because your posture has been changed. Your muscles have been lengthening, or really, or in a more tight way. Especially, the baby is out of your body. You look different. You're still bleeding because your uterus is still healing from the birth. You have this baby, milk leaking. Well. So many things. So take it easy. And if you're asking if you are a busy mom and you have these short time schedules, which you have in these first weeks, just find a few minutes a day. And if it won't happen, it won't happen. Don't blame yourself. Luckily, our body is capable of healing itself also, but you can help it by doing the right exercises. And if you're worried about it, refer out to a specialist. So if you really want to focus on it, I have consults. I come with you in about 2 weeks after you gave birth, and I will tell you more about this. If you want to do it yourself, look for Core Restore videos on YouTube. There are so many pre and postnatal trainers who give good advice for this. But start with the breathing. try to if I can just say one thing, I think place your hands on your lower ribs.
Mm-hmm.
And then, place your hands on your lower ribs and inhale via your nose and feel your hands expanding on your lower ribs.
Here, directly
here.
under the...
Yeah, that's not on your belly. Mm-hmm. Feel it expanding. And when you exhale via your mouth and you're doing like an S, that's really, sorry guys.
In the mic.
In the mic. With an sound, you should feel your ribs lower down.
Yeah.
If you do this again and you place your hand on your belly, inhale, expansion of the rib cage, but your belly should be relatively flat. It's not pressing out. Mm-hmm. And then when you exhale with this cloud, you should feel your belly become more flat, for example. And then you add the pelvic floor. And this is how you start. It's if you are a CrossFitter, you're like, oh my God, do I really have to do this? Yes, I'm sorry. You need to do this. Get in control of your body.
Yeah. It reminds me of yoga. I think during yoga breathing, they were also saying like...
it's more Pilates, I think, when you do a diaphragmatic breathing.
But it was yoga at a fitness club, so it was not perfect yoga.
Cool. Yeah, because in yoga, it's more down in the belly. But hey, and then you can do a lot of training and exercises. Yeah. So I think as a runner in your pregnancy or postpartum period, you cannot run. But you want to stay strong as possible. And if you're looking for exercises to do, then it's just maintaining what you had for your
strength or your breathing, your cardiovascular.
Yeah, cardiovascular system by looking for options like swimming, biking, walking. Yeah. Maybe do walks with heavy stuff, carries. And also do as a strength training, focus on these muscles that are really important in running. So for example, all the muscles on the back of your body. Mm-hmm. So calves, hamstrings, back of the upper legs, your glutes. Train your quads by doing squats, deadlifts, glute bridges, hip bridges, lunges, and so on. Yep. And make sure your core and your upper back stay strong enough to make sure you can keep your balance while running. And if you are curious about that, again, ask a specialist. Look for a strength trainer who can help you with this, preferably one with pre and postnatal
experience,
knowledge.
Yeah. That's very good advice, especially also for all our running female listeners, possibly becoming pregnant or having kids. I think it's time to move to...
I have one quick question. We talk about mainly training and exercising. How about stretching? Is this a bad thing before or after pregnancy?
That's a good question, because I talked about you for the relaxing, which is, yes, stretching is good because some muscles get tight, but you should be careful in those stretches. So don't go in the fullest length of stretches where you really, for example, if you say 3 minutes in a pancake stretch, for example, it can really be taxing on the hip joints, for example. So take a little less long time and don't look for the fullest stretch.
Extension, of the muscle.
But you should stretch and you should keep mobile, especially in this postpartum period, because when you're pregnant, it's actually relatively easy to move around. But if you are postpartum and you have this baby who needs to be fed 8 times a day, and that feeding a baby takes an hour in the beginning, and holding a baby is mostly keeping it in front of your chest. So your upper back is curling. It's curving. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be tight. So yes, you need to stretch this upper back, especially in this postpartum period. So and postpartum, you're sitting in the same positions a lot. Yeah. And then it's even more important. Yeah. Because those tightened muscles, it's really hard with tight muscles to keep the right posture. And right posture is really important for your intra-abdominal pressure. So the right form of the can. Yeah. So yes, do your stretches.
That's a circle. We also asked our audience to give us some questions via, if you have some questions for our future guests on our podcast, you can reach us via Instagram and Facebook of What the Crew Podcast. And we also have speakpipe.com/What the Crew Podcast, where you can leave a message kind of like on a
voice message.
Yeah.
All links in the show notes.
Yes. And the first question that we received is from Anna Pachor. Can running during pregnancy have a negative effect on my body?
It depends.
Of course, it depends.
Yeah. If you are a runner, a lot of people continue running during their pregnancy. There is an athlete who ran a sprint wedstrijd. Competition at 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
There was and Nike sponsored her, and Nike fired her for this.
Okay.
Nike fired her for being pregnant, and because that wasn't the good.
That's what they wanted to stand for.
It's
complicated.
There's a short film of her. I can try to find it, and you might link it.
In the show notes.
Yeah, but did it damage her body? I don't know. I should say risk versus reward.
Yeah.
We know all these facts, all these things that changes in the body, the weaker joints, the changing of posture and alignment. And those have an effect on your running technique.
Yeah.
This baby in your uterus pressing on the pelvic floor muscles all the time. And the pelvic floor muscle being the only thing that is keeping your
baby inside.
Yeah, no, it's your
like
baby, but your darmen and so.
Your intestines.
Yeah, intestines away from the floor, your bladder, your uterus.
Yeah.
All this pressure on this pelvic floor muscle, which is weakened, might give you damage in the long run.
Yeah.
Not in this moment of your pregnancy, but maybe in the long run. And then we are talking about prolapse, for example. Yeah.
So can it have a negative effect?
It can have a negative. Yes, it can have, and it depends on a lot of factors.
Yeah.
And on a person.
Yeah.
And I should say, after 16 weeks, 20 weeks, maybe avoid the running part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's what we discussed earlier, like the explosiveness and like other parts of the weakened joints, and wherefore it's maybe not advisable and alternatives have to be looked at. She also handed in another question. She didn't have contractions during birth, and with contractions, she doesn't mean labor contractions, but like the pushing contractions. Is this a result of incorrect exercising during her pregnancy?
Well, I'm not a medical specialist, but I do know that 1 in 10 women, around 1 in 10 women do not experience the pushing contractions.
Yeah.
So, and why this is and how, but I cannot imagine that training has an impact on this. But don't blame me if it is, or this is not you should refer to a gynecologist.
Yeah. But I found it very interesting from you to hear that it actually can be more normal than not to not have the pushing contractions.
Yeah, you hear it more often. Yeah. It's could be the body not ready for this phase, but I'm not a midwife, huh?
Yeah.
We have another question from Maluz, and she asked, which muscle do new moms need to train before starting to run again?
Yeah, this is a really good question. There is 3 physiotherapists from Ireland. They made this postnatal guidelines for running. And in this postnatal guidelines for running, they will tell you what to train. More important is it's not so much about the cardiovascular system that you train, but it's more about strength and balance. So they have 10 exercises and some, cutoff, some rules.
Yeah.
You should, it's not really rules, but they say, for example, you should have advice. You should have been to a pelvic floor therapist. They need to clear you.
Yeah.
You have to be so many weeks postpartum. There are a few things. And then they have a few exercises you should be able of doing before you can safely start running.
Yeah.
For example, it's like, it's the running man drill where you stand on one leg is behind you and then you go forward. But they also have broad jumps, for example. And if you look up at these exercises, you can link it in the show notes. If you look at these exercises, you could try to do them. But before you do these exercises 3 months postpartum, you should do these basic exercises, these core restore exercises like squatting and glute bridges. And you start without weight and then you put some weight on there. It's actually strength training.
Yeah.
Jeremy Regenberg talks about this in his episode. I thought it was
episode 4.
So if you want to know more about strength training and how progressive overload principles work, then you can listen to this.
Yeah.
And if you want to look on if you want to know more about which exercise you could do, you could talk to a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And the videos you mentioned, are they on YouTube or is it
from the Irish?
From
the free
the running.
Irish.
The running guidelines. Yeah, they are on YouTube too.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll link them in the show
Brian
notes then.
Donnelly. Yeah. If I will,
Yeah,
we'll
we'll
link the show
We'll
notes.
drop a link.
Exactly.
Have a look, guys.
And then we have quite extensive questions from Robiane. She said, what is the best exercise for closing the straight ab muscle?
Yeah, this really also relates to the question before. If your core is still a mess.
Yeah.
So I told you about this breathing pattern.
Yeah.
So you start with the breathing pattern, and then you add core exercises on that breathing pattern, and you have so many exercises, and it depends so much on which one works for you. You hear dead bug very often. Most of the time it are exercises where at first you lay flat on the floor, because if you lay flat on the floor, there's less pressure on your pelvic floor area, and from here you load your core. So if I lay on my back and I extend my arms up in the air, my hands above the shoulders, and I place my feet hip width apart with bent knees on the floor, and I lift my knees up one by one.
Yeah.
That would be quite challenging in your core if you just gave birth, and then you lower your heels one by one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you start to extend your legs, for example. You add an arm in there and you work diagonally, or
There are different variations.
A crunch, a regular crunch, or a plank exercise. That's not the exercise you're looking for. You're looking for these exercises who look quite simple if you take a look at it, but they are really challenging your core.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are a lot of exercises on it on YouTube. If you look for pre and postnatal exercising, and if you do this and you watch for the signs. So if you keep a dry pants, you're not feeling any pain in this pelvic floor area, you're not siliconing, and you're able to breathe doing these exercises, then it would be a good one for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you're insecure about what is good and what is not good and how these things work, then you
see a specialist.
See a specialist. Yeah. I cannot say this more times.
Yeah. She also asked, how long does it on average take for the straight ab muscles to close? And is there a difference between vaginal delivery to C-section?
Well, to close it, no. There's not really a change, because the widening of the gap, this linea alba stretching, happens during the pregnancy, and it is not happening during the
giving birth. So it doesn't matter if you have a C-section or have your vaginal.
A C-section, well, you cut through the body. They have gentle ways of doing it, but you have a scar in there, and that could it's not being said that it is, but it could slower your recovery process. Again, a pelvic the pelvic floor therapist could help you with this.
Yeah.
If you experience any pain, or you're just insecure about this. And how long it takes on average? Well, this connective tissue healing process takes 9 months to completely regain its strength. So it could take a while. But if you feel this tissue in between from your pubic bone all the way up to your chest bone, sternum, if it feels really soft and you can really press deeply down in there, and you like a jelly pudding, after 6 to 8 weeks after birth, and I said really, really soft, you can really dive deep in there. You could refer out to a specialist already. But you should feel some progress week by week if you do. If nature does its job, and you could help it a little bit by doing the right breathing techniques and the right core contractions. Yeah.
And another one for her: are there any different exercises if you have a C-section?
I would not say. I cannot say this here and now.
No,
because it depends so much on your posture, how you feel, how trained you are. It depends on so many factors.
On the healing
but
process.
In regular, after giving birth, the muscles that need a lot of work most often are the muscles in the back, because of this change in the spine because of holding the baby so much, for example, and the muscles around the in the hips, the glutes, the legs. But it depends on somebody's posture, which muscle you stretch and which muscle you strengthen.
And the last one from her is, what do you recommend for new mothers that want to exercise but have little time and motivation? Are there certain apps, YouTubes? She even refers to is there something?
So many. So many. Do what you like. It's what I told you. And do what you love. Do what works best for you. And if this is yoga with Adrian, do yoga with Adrian. If this is high intensity interval training with Kai Leitzinus, for example, go for that. But make sure you watch the red flags. And do the adjustments. If this is training with a personal trainer week by week, go for a personal trainer. If this is going for a walk with your best friend each another day, do this. Besides that, working on your breathing would be really nice. But that doesn't have to take a half an hour a day.
So there are certain principles in the beginning that you anyway said, work on your breathing, work on your pelvic floor, work on your posture and in your glutes. But how you do that, in what form, just adjust it to a style that works for you.
And a little bit is better than nothing.
A little bit is always better than nothing. And I think being able to do a little bit as a newborn mom is amazing.
I guess.
I can imagine.
So
as well.
these 2 minutes a day where you might do 2 rounds of 10 easy squats, and you focus on this 360-degree inhalation and expanding of your full rib cage with lengthening and lengthening your pelvic floor muscle, for example, and you just do 2 rounds. Good job. Do it again tomorrow if you have some time.
Must be also a great feeling being a new mom, to have 2 minutes for yourself where you think about only yourself and your body. To relax.
I think that's really important, and it's what we forgot. I think as a newborn mom, you push yourself away and what you need, and
you just focus on the kid.
And that's what you want, actually.
Yeah, of course.
Sometimes it could be 3 o'clock and you're thinking, shoot, I didn't take the time to shower myself. And I still spit in my hair and whatever.
It happens.
It happens.
Be patient.
We're all been there. Be patient. And that's also, be patient. It takes 9 months to grow this baby. And it's actually 9 months to grow this baby out of your body. Let's say it like this. It's not 6 weeks after giving birth, you can hop back to exercise. No, 6 weeks after you gave birth, your uterus has been healed and it's been getting the same size as before you're getting pregnant, if you're lucky. And then your process of recovering and retraining starts. And after 6 months, then your training starts again. So in these guidelines for running, if we talk about runners, you should be 3 or 4 months at least after you gave birth to start running again.
Is there, because now we talk about this, is there a difference for moms who are pregnant again quite fast after the first pregnancy? Is the second one a little bit different because maybe the body is not fully recovered yet?
Could be.
Is this going to be different or?
No, I think every pregnancy you should
look at individual.
Every pregnancy is different. And well, if you're pregnant, just make sure you watch these markers. If I'm exercising, do I have is my pants, do my pants stay dry? Am I able to keep control of my intra-abdominal pressure? Am I able to breathe? And is there no pain? And depending on, if you have a second pregnancy quite fast after your first one, of course, your body is still recovering from the first one. So it might, for example, it might be that you're showing your second pregnancy much more earlier than you did in your first one, for example. Or that, for example, if you have pelvic pain, that it shows up earlier than in your first pregnancy, but it might come. Even if you have these pain in this pelvic floor area, you can still train. Maybe it just is you have the experience of the pain because you move not enough, for example.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We can talk this about.
Yeah. But now also it kind of makes sense that that it's difficult to find information recommendations on the internet, since it's so many little stars, asterisks, it depends, because every pregnancy is different, every female body is different, the point that you start out at, the point that your body is, and then how your pregnancy is, it's so different.
Yeah.
So no wonder they don't want to give you a real big pages of advice on the IEVM.
No, yeah. Well, they could give you more advice.
They could say maybe.
Yeah, but still, yeah. It depends so much, on how your body's handling your pregnancy, how your body's handling the birth, veerkracht, resilience of the body, and of the mind also. And what you and in my opinion also what you like to do, and what you love, and.
But this is even if you're not pregnant, you should the advice is always do something that you enjoy, because that's just keeping up
on the long term.
Yeah.
Exactly. There are 2 questions that we are asking all our listeners, and they are
guests. You mean
guests? Yes.
Yeah. If you can give one piece of advice to the listeners, what would it be regarding the topic of today?
If I give you one piece of advice, I would say there is no standing training format or best practice if you are pregnant or postpartum. So if you want to work on this, go and reach out a specialist. I cannot say this quite often. Mm-hmm. So, and in a specialist, your midwife is there to make sure your health and your baby's health are okay during this journey. A pelvic floor therapist is there to help you with posture and alignment and these pelvic floor muscles and your core muscles. Yeah. And if you experience pain or discomfort or so on, a personal trainer with a pre and postnatal certification, they can help you by recovering from giving birth or staying as fit as possible during this pregnancy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're lucky, these 3 people work together.
Yeah.
To give you the best journey you can have. Yeah.
Sounds good. And the last one, do you have any suggestion to who should invite on the show or a topic we should talk about?
Good question. I'm not so I'm not a big of running, but I don't know. I did a course once and there was this woman and she ran over 100K
distance,
really, really, really big distance runners. I don't know if you ever have somebody like that.
We ultra marathon. What did we?
We had Jake.
True, we had Jake.
He completed a 100K.
No, 200. He did 200
and a 200K. Yeah,
okay.
He did both.
Yeah, but I was wondering if you could have a women in your show who did this, and because I'm wondering, they say in CrossFit you see that women are there are more CrossFit athletes who are women who are really high in the schedules than men. If you compare it to each other, you see that in general women are a little bit more better in CrossFit than men. Although men lift the heavier weights and stuff, but their bodies are better capable of doing all these kind of different things than men. Yeah. So I'm really, maybe you can talk about this with a female.
Yeah. It is also very interesting. There was this one podcast with, what is the guy called that you're always listening to in the evening?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan, exactly. He had a podcast with De Volter, something De Volter. She is an ultra marathon, and she finished a race in hours before the second place, and she's a really really fit ultra marathon runner, and it's that she started the discussion. Since women are, what you said, men are in general stronger, but women in general have a longer endurance than men, or endurance sports or activities are a little bit easier for women. If ultra marathons are the first discipline where women might exceed the performances of men. She started this discussion, and it's very interesting. So
it is, yeah.
This is definitely a good suggestion. Yeah,
that's a good suggestion. I like it. Yeah. Good.
Okay, you're welcome.
Daphne, I think Daphne de Volta. I have to look it
Can't
up.
remember the name.
Maybe we also have to link it in the show notes.
Great. So where can people find you if they want to know more about you, see more about you, and maybe eventually contact you for some coaching?
Well, you can find me on the internet. No, you can find me. I have my own website. It's called www.metmaris.nl. It's all in Dutch, but as you hear, I can speak English too.
Yeah.
If you also want to reach out to me, you can send me an email by info@metmaris.nl, or you can find me on Instagram. I'm not that. Well, I try to be active, but there are a lot of people who have more time than me that put a lot on Instagram. So you can definitely find them too.
But you are there.
But I am there at @met_maris__. Or you can find me at Unscared Fitness here in Utrecht.
Yes.
Yeah, since you're a coach there.
And I also work for Core Academy, and which is a big institute. And we make sure that more trainers have this pre- and postnatal certification, and they have their own program, which is called Power Mama. So if you're pregnant or postpartum and you like to train in a group setting, you can join this Power Mama trainings. And we are all in the Netherlands, in Belgium, and we start in Iceland.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Then we will anyway, again, link everything in the show notes. So everyone that would like to get in contact with you, look down there to see the email address, website, and Instagram channels. But if you want to find out more about us, well, we are also on the official channels, Facebook, Instagram, and that's basically it.
Yeah. And Patreon, shout out to our Patreon, which are Tim, Tufik, Alex, and Malte, new Patreon. Welcome, and thank you guys for supporting the show. Thank you, Mariska, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
I've learned a lot, I know, and I guess you too. And I hope our listeners and viewers did as well.
Yeah.
And hopefully that can help a lot of women out there. And
to be a little bit less scared about pregnancy.
More confident and know what you cannot do. And at least open the discussion to get some more knowledge and
in this mass of insecurity. As I experienced it when I did start researching.
It's
it's a broad field.
It's a really broad field, and there are a lot of camps. Let's say it like this.
Yes. Yeah. It is like
you can if, for example, if you are a runner and you're looking for running and pregnancy, you can find everything between don't run. In a broad spectrum. And if you're a runner and you're looking for information that says you can run during pregnancy, you can find it on the internet.
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
It's like the sketch that you showed me once, if Google would be a person, where depending on what you're searching, you will always find a certain answer in the internet.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Again, thank you very much for your time. And we'll see you soon while training it.
CrossFit,
Okay.
Awesome. See you.
Bye.